You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nichole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, everyone. That's right. It's Monday, September 26th. It is World Contraception Day, National Compliance Day, shout out Nichole, National Situational Awareness Day, National Dumpling Day, National Pancake Day, National Johnny Appleseed Day, and guess what? That's right, National Shamu the Whale Day. Thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. We're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube and audio only on Clubhouse. And if you're joining us on Clubhouse, you can also participate in the show by raising your hand if you have a brief comment on the story most recently presented. But without further ado, let's pay a quick bill and get right back to the news.
At True Classic OG, we live by one motto: stay true. We stay true to our legacy cut of True OG that's always fresh, piney, gassy, and delicious. We represent the spirit, hustle, and diversity of our great city of angels. And we stay true to the spirit of this plant, doing everything in-house to ensure that you get the highest quality and consistency with every batch. And that's what's made us LA's favorite OG. True Classic OG. Stay true, Los Angeles.
That's right. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. As you can see, I have Stone Slade sitting in with me here at Mar-a-Lago. But nonetheless, let's start it off with the dope dad himself. That's right, Rico Lamitte. He's the man that loves to change diapers and babysit kids at daycare. You know, when he's not doing any of that, you can catch him talking about his shoe size, where he claims to be a 12.5, but after he runs, he claims to be a 13. But that's probably constantly running because he's constantly backpedaling on safe banking. But nonetheless, it is none other than the dope dad himself, Rico Lamitte.
Thank you for yet another amazing intro, Jason. And welcome back, everyone out there watching, listening, and getting high at 9 with us yet again on this magnificently medical Monday. My headline today is from Benzinga by Maureen Meehan. Images of Americans detained abroad, including Brittany Griner, projected on New York City buildings for Biden and the United Nations to see. Cave paintings, hieroglyphics, impressionist work, photography. Throughout history, spoken words have proven to be fleeting, but when paired with imagery to further a narrative, however accurate or not, the results have moved mountains time and time again. This past weekend, as the UN General Assembly concluded, the giant images of 19 wrongfully detained Americans abroad, including WNBA star and Olympic gold medalist Brittany Griner, appeared on the buildings throughout New York City in clear sight of world leaders in attendance. Each American depicted had their individual stories and the anguish of their families and friends on display. Per the article, between each were messages to President Biden reminding him of the families of detainees, and Americans generally are counting on him and his administration to bring them home. The 24-hour news cycle is crazy, so for those who may have forgot, Griner was detained at Moscow airport in February for possessing less than a gram of cannabis oil in her suitcase, and she arrived to play with Russia's UMMC Ekaterinburg team as part of her yearly off-season routine since 2014. She's now been in Russian detention for over 220 days. Her family's message read, "Our sister Brittany Griner has been wrongfully detained in Russia for 219 days. as of September 24th. We support the Biden administration to do whatever is necessary to bring BG, Paul Whelan, and all wrongfully detained Americans home. The projected images were first displayed this past summer in Isaac Campbell's Washington, D.C. mural for the Bring Our Families Home campaign, a family-led campaign of various family members of Americans currently held hostage and wrongfully detained abroad, and includes the parents, children, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, and friends of the Americans whose only crime is being American and who are now being used as political pawns. The project's website states the campaign's goal is to encourage the Biden administration and our national political leaders to support the use of every tool available, including trades, to secure the prompt return of Americans held abroad. With these public murals, the families hope to increase attention to the plight of their loved ones, educate the public about hostage diplomacy, and create community advocacy that will encourage the Biden administration to use all tools available to them to urgently bring them home. When speaking of the original mural work, purposely made from biodegradable wheat paste, Campbell said this: "Mural is made from flour, water, sugar, and paper. It will fade, tear, and eventually disappear over time. What will be done for these Americans by the time the mural disappears? I hope this work reminds us all of the urgency of this campaign and inspires our government to use the tools available to bring these American citizens home before their faces fade away and disappear from this wall." It's powerful stuff and a necessary reminder of how American freedoms are often taken for granted when viewed through a global lens. It hasn't yet been reported what any of the world leaders' reaction, if any, to the projected murals has been, but predictably, the Biden administration declined to comment. This is Rico Lamitte, dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. I'm interested in hearing what everybody else's response to this is.
Rico, did you say they forgot to comment?
They declined to comment.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that.
They just forgot.
I mean, it's Sleepy Joe, so you know.
I think it's a powerful thing to do while all the world leaders are here. I think it's not going to hurt. I'm surprised. I didn't realize we had 19 people being detained.
There's 64.
I am happy. 64?
Yeah, there's 64 total. 19
wow.
of them were projected this past weekend. The original mural has 64 of them, and that one was in Washington, D.C. this past summer.
Wow. Okay.
I'm really still struggling a bit. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, love Brittany Griner and I love the conversation that we're having to try to help her. But when we're having this conversation about people being, detained in other countries, that it's very illegal. When we have people that are currently incarcerated in this country where it's like mildly illegal, like I think that, we want to be considerate of that too. And I know a lot of people are pretty pissed off that there's so much effort going. And again, no, not trying to say that we don't want to help Brittany get out, but she was in another country that is clear as to what's going on with how they feel about it, versus in our country we have people that are in states that technically have medical cannabis that are still getting arrested for having it on them, or getting said that they're selling because they had that one basketball player, what was his name? I can't remember now. The one that had 4 ounces on him, and they're like, "Oh, he's trapping," and I'm like, "I don't know, bro. Like, that's not that."
Iman Shumpert.
Yeah. Like, there's a lot of people that are here, right? And so, like, I appreciate and I applaud this mission, but like, Luke Scarmazzo needs to be on that fucking thing, right? Like, Luke is still in prison here in America and has been for a very long time on some bullshit.
Well, he doesn't need to be on that thing because there's a project about people being locked up abroad, and I don't want to.
I understand that, but the conversation about the abroad is so much less. I don't want
to get into whataboutism, because yes, this is a separate thing, but we are focusing on Brittany Griner, and this is the effort that they're getting out for her.
No, I understand that, and I'm saying that we should spend more time on our people that are in America. So I appreciate it, but I think that there's a bigger problem with the way that we're incarcerating them here than.
And I think the high profile of Brittany Griner can bring quicker, swifter justice to a lot of the people back home as well, because of the conversation that we're having right now. When you bring up Scarmazzo.
I'm with Stretch and with Gretchen on this one.
Brittany Griner is not going to make anything happen quicker.
Nope.
faster. Nothing's happening. I'd like
I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think that it's about like making it go quicker or anything, but it's about like keeping the spotlight on what's going on.
Because why? I mean,
why?
What?
Because Brittany Griner is inspirational to little girls everywhere, to queer people everywhere. She is right now. She's like the LeBron James.
Because of that, because that is why she's more important than all the other people.
It's not about she's more important. She's more visible. So why not amplify the message?
What?
If you have somebody who is very visible, who is
amplify the message that if you're famous, that you're going to get preferential treatment.
No, if you're famous, you're going to have a bigger spotlight on you.
So the moral of the story is build your following.
Anybody?
Yes, Gretchen. Yes, please, Gretchen.
In America, that's how shit works.
Is this girl with the folks wrongfully detained? It's for more than just cannabis, correct?
Oh yeah, it's about people globally being wrongfully detained. It's supposed to just like poke the eye of all of the world leaders for the UN General Assembly. You guys are out here enjoying your freedom in American streets, but look at all these people that are locked up abroad, like all around the world. And the 64 people in the original mural, they all have what are deemed to be heavy-handed sentences, like levied on them for minuscule crimes.
What about all the people that America has detained in ICE camps?
You're saying what about? Like, let's focus on this right here. Is this a good thing or is it a bad thing? I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, and getting back to the story, Rico, I was happy.
Exactly. It's PR piece. It's a puff piece designed to make people feel good inside.
I was happy to hear that the other WNBA players have all come together to say that they will not be going back to Russia until she's freed. Now, what I would like to hear them say is that we're not going back to Russia, period, and work on making the salaries more equitable here in America, and or coming together after looking at their contracts and see if they can come together with some kind of entity to generate money and pay everyone more equitably. I just wish, I'm glad that they're not going back to Russia right now, but I would like them not to go back to Russia, period. I would not want to be in a country that would treat my own like that. I would not.
I think the U.S. women's team on soccer, they did a great job doing this. So, real quick. Yeah, the U.S. women's team for soccer, they did a great job doing exactly that. And this year, as a result of all their efforts, of all the bullshit that they went through over the last few years, they're not only getting paid more, but they're selling out stadiums, period. It has brought a lot of attention, much needed attention to women's sports, and women are actually selling out stadiums, they're actually selling tickets, and they're actually getting a much broader view in the public eye than they were before because they spoke out.
Yes. And to Dr. Felicia's point, I think that as the revenues increase, because it is increasing revenues, they need to pay these athletes better.
Yeah.
Gretchen, what were you saying, Gretchen?
I would say, screw not going back to Russia. If the WNBA really wants to take a stand, they need to go on strike. Don't get paid. Say we're not going to have our next season if we really care about Brittany Griner. Put your fucking money where your mouth is. I'm sick of this.
Quickly before the WNBA.
The problem is, the problem is they're going over to Russia to get money because they don't have money. Brittany Griner, like I said, like she's the LeBron James of women's basketball.
Hold on, so
her salary is $220,000.
I'm telling you that it would be a much more visual, a bigger stage if they decide not to have their season.
Is there somebody
you think they care about
Mexico
and Russia? You want to make a stand? Take a risk.
What's that, Nicole?
Is there somebody up from the audience? I feel like I've heard somebody try to interject a couple times. We hear that.
Dr. Delta seems to hate me.
Somebody just.
Let's hear Dr.
Zaza was unmuted, so I apologize for that. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was
Sorry.
like, I heard somebody
Sorry.
like try to interrupt a couple times. I was like, who is that?
But you know, I wonder. All this makes me question: is Russia the new Las Vegas?
Oh, what a great
go
segue to
go on
Jason
vacation and
Beck.
leave on probation.
Oh, what a great segue to Jason Beck heading up for his next Las Vegas vacation, also known as Russia. Jason Beck's the longest running retailer in the history of cannabis, member of whatever political party might piss you off, and odds are the person who's probably smoking better weed than you, at least in his own mind. Jason, what do you have for us today?
Well, Nicole, you are so right, because I am definitely smoking better weed than everyone on the planet. But nonetheless, my story today comes out of California, you guys. That's right. It's a sad, sad day. And oh man, you won't believe what these Democrats are doing, because a California regulator says illegal cannabis businesses should pay $128 million. California's Cannabis Regulation Authority wants a group of business owners to pay $128 million in collective penalties for manufacturing and selling unlicensed products in the state for more than a year. According to Law 360, the Department of Cannabis Control, the DCC, not to be confused with the DCC, known as the Democratic Party, asked a state judge on Wednesday to grant the summary judgment award, and arguing that the evidence was indisputable that the 7 defendants, 4 business and 3 owners, effectively admitted to breaking the law in court. Both by admissions of the defendants and independent evidence gathered by the DCC support that the 7 defendants engaged in unlicensed commercial cannabis activity in the state of California for 527 days, the agency wrote. There is no triable issue as this fact when determining the civil penalty that should be assessed in this case, they say in a quote. 2 years ago, the state public health department manufactured cannabis safety branch, the CDPH, sent a cease and desist letter to Ruben Kachian in March of 2018 after it received a complaint that his company, Vertical Bliss, was engaged in the unlicensed manufacturing of cannabis edibles and vape cartridges. CDPH met with Kachian the following August to help his company apply for a provisional license to operate in the legal market, which was eventually applied for in December and issued in June of 2019. By October of 2019, the Department of Consumer Affairs Division of the investigation executed a search warrant at 2 locations operated by Kachian and the other owners named in the case. Authorities found cannabis concentrate, gummies, vapes, and various manufacturing equipment, as well as records showing that the unlicensed production had occurred since April of 2018, a month after Kachian received his cease and desist letter. The agencies alleged that Vertical Bliss had manufactured more than 3 million pounds of Cushy Punch brand cannabis gummies and accused the company of pushing $64 million worth of unlicensed product into the market through licensed facilities. Furthermore, investigators found that the company had been making 20 milligram edibles, which would be unlawful even if the factory was licensed due to the existing 10 milligram per serving cap for THC edibles. DCC also wrote that the unlicensed commercial cannabis activity occurred over the span of 18 months and was done knowingly, in quotation marks, purposely, and in total disregard of the law. Therefore, the maximum allowable civil penalties are warranted. The $120 million figure equals 3 times the $81,000 licensing fee, which is basically $75,000 for illegal manufacturing profits plus $6,000 for illegal distribution, multiplied by 527 for each day of violations over the 18-month span. Man, put that in your pipe and smoke it. Well, I'll tell you what, DCC, you have a fat chance of collecting on this $128 million. But I guess, it's like other corporate businesses. You just put it in the debt column and write it off on your P&Ls. But we shall see. And this is Jason Beck reporting for High at 9 News.
Bro, okay, 2 things. First of all, Cushy Punch is still on the market, right? So that's the number one thing that I
have patients that request Cushy Punch.
So when you say they're not going to get that money, I don't know, bro, because they're still trying to sell in the state of California, and they still sell fairly well. So they are associated with a license somewhere at the moment. And this is one of those things a couple years ago when this happened, everyone was like, oh yeah, they're just going to get a slap on the wrist. And I was like, no, bro, this is just going to take a minute, but wait for it. Fucking watch. Remember, Jason? I think you were actually one of the ones that was like, it'll just roll water off a duck's back. Then can you keep charging?
Water off a duck's back. That's
and they kept going. But I don't know. I see this as being something, maybe not 128 million, but they're going to come for that fucking money. And like, if Cushy Punch wants to stay in existence in California.
But hold on. So the warrant is against blissfully whatever the fuck it was called. Okay. So now if Cushy Punch is operating under a different corporate entity name, that lien can't go against that corporation. They would have to be named in the lawsuit.
They would have to actually rename, because that's the reason why they require you to list the brands that you're under, because they're coming after that brand within that licensing application. So that original process was a part of that business, and Cushy Punch was associated with that as their DBA. So no, they're going to come after Cushy Punch. Like,
I think Cushy Punch,
a mark.
Cushy Punch trap brand name should have been Pushy Punch, and then that way they wouldn't be in trouble.
They should just change the color Pantone just like a little bit.
The color pan. Oh yeah,
those packs out, they were exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, when their whole thing got rolled on, the police or whatever took pictures, and it ended up on the article. And I'm looking at this, and I'm like, everyone's like, oh yeah, no, they're out of business. That's their waste. They were calling it waste, and I was like, that's the most organized trash I've ever seen in my life. They were like skewed out with fucking like numbers, VINs at the end. I'm like, I don't know, bro. That's not how I treat my trash.
What's better, trap Cushy Punch here in LA or trap Cushy Punch in New York?
It's the same trap Cushy Punch. Same shit. It just tastes better when it's 20 milligrams of THC because the terps are better.
So Jason, do they have a time limit to pay this money, or
the article did not stipulate that, and I seriously doubt that the DCC is going to get $128 million out of Cushy Punch.
That shit ain't gonna happen.
That's a fucking pipe dream if you're asking me.
And if they do go forward with it, Cushy Punch. Oh, they can't even go bankrupt.
Exactly, they can't go bankrupt. Exactly.
Honestly,
yeah,
they're just gonna pop up as something else. That's it.
I honestly think this is, and if they do and they pop as something else, fine. But I think this is California's way of, like, you know how when you get cut off of PayPal, how they're like, they'll just like give you some weird error message, and then you call them and you're like, what the fuck? And they're like, this is PayPal's way of saying have a nice day. Like, they find a way to get you the fuck out of their system without actually kicking you out, right? And so like this might be one of those plays where it's like easier than trying to tell them that they can't come back. We're just going to give them such like egregious fines that they're just going to fucking push. And maybe they will rename, maybe they will call something else, but that you're going to lose all of that market traction as Cushy Punch, you know, to be able to sell. If you came out something right now as like Pushy Kush or something, you know,
Pushy Cunts.
But if you came out with something else, you'd have to redevelop that traction. And so I think that might be something that California is just trying to like stomp out their like movement right now.
I think they're trying to set an example out of Cushy Punch. Yeah, this is a great headline. Yeah, you owe us $128 million, Cushy Punch. You're a fucking bad actor.
Well, let me close my back door really quick. There's a gardener here, and I had my stories next. So give me 1 second.
Oh boy,
usually keep the back door
gardener
open.
In the backyard. Oh yeah, who's tilling your roots? Are your roots being tilled this morning, Nicole?
Did you close the back door?
Bro, my bushes were out of control.
I bet.
My bush needed whacking.
Bushy Punch would be an amazing name for a cannabis brand.
There's like 3 dudes out there whacking my bush right now.
Oh boy.
Did he wrap up the hose?
They're weed whacking.
I fucking forget to wrap the hose up every time. I'm such a bad hose.
I always keep my hose wrapped up, and my favorite street in Denver, Colorado is Arapahoe.
You know, we're in a drought.
Let's roll. Let's roll.
As a felon, our next co-host prides herself in doing more than just showing up daily and getting hyphy for spreadsheets. She's an ag and efficiency expert that spends her downtime working on the ever-elusive doctorate in dirtbag psychology now offered at Long Beach Community College. Celebrating National White Chocolate Day on Friday and not celebrating National Contraceptive Day today. It's the self-described general data bitch herself, Nichole West. What you got for us?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so my headline today is coming out of Thailand, and I just wanted to tell everybody that's out there in the world thinking that Thailand is the new Oklahoma. Well, you're right. It is. And the race to the bottom is going to be faster than you've ever seen in your fucking life. And Thailand is already seeing that, and they only have medical, and they barely only have medical. So currently, cannabis farmers in Thailand are asking for the government's help as the prices fall. Surprise, surprise, right? I'm a little bit blown away that this is a surprise to some people when we're having the conversation of when we export things, because it can bring the costs drastically down. When we're looking at a project like agriculture in a country like Thailand that already has really refined prices when it comes to how much it costs to grow things, oh man, I can't even imagine some of these numbers. I had to do the math of what baht to a dollar is, and I can't see it lasting that long, and it's already pretty low. So who would have seen it coming? Well, me. With the decriminalization and the deregulation of cannabis, prices have plummeted, and farmers are asking for the price regulation from the government in Thailand now. People are able to grow the plant on their own and sell the crops. The original farmers with the government contracts have seen 80% to 90% reduction in value of their crops. In many parts of Thailand, the oversupply of cannabis is clearly evident, with new shops on every street corner and cannabis being incorporated into food, drink, and menus around the country. About 1 million people were licensed to grow, sell, and consume the plant in Thailand over the past year, and it has flooded the market. Now in the northern province of Nakhon Phanom, farmers are asking the government to set price regulations for cannabis. Good fucking luck, Thailand. Before the legalization of cannabis in June, special permission was required from universities, medical centers, and hospitals to allow for farmers to grow. Cannabis leaves, which I think that they don't fully understand, fetches about 15,000 baht per kilogram. And I had to do the math. I was like, what is a baht to a kilogram or to a dollar? And 1 baht is essentially equal to 26 cents. So 15,000 baht is equivalent to 396 US dollars. So currently they're saying that leaves, which I'm sure that they fucking mean trim, I'm sure they don't actually mean leaves, are fetching 15,000 baht or $396 per kilo, which is essentially 2.2 pounds. So that would break down to $100 or $200 about per pound of trim, which in California, we're below that. So I would have to say that it's probably not even that high, but we're looking at that of the conversation of when they had government contracts. So the president of Medicinal Herbs Community Enterprise of Nakhon in Sheri Sangkuram district said that the group had contracted to grow cannabis for the government promotion hospital for 2 years now. The group's 30 members were growing approximately 30,000 cannabis plants originally. Farmers in the group were selling their leaves, roots, and buds. I can't believe that they listed that they're selling their roots, but maybe they were for different types of composting or maybe even juicing, but obviously not to get high. The cannabis plant, and we're earning about 50,000 to 100,000 baht per month on their crop. But the potential to earn income has vastly reduced, and now that the growing and selling is practically a free-for-all. Anyone can grow cannabis today. And again, like I said, this is going to be Oklahoma 2.0. And if you don't speak the language when you go there, it'll be even more fun for you. So good luck, everybody that thought Thailand was your new frontier. Please don't go appropriate a new country and thinking that this is where you're going to make your millions of dollars. Let the Thai people go ahead and participate in this on their own. It looks like they're doing a decent enough job racing to the bottom. They don't need all you howlies over there fucking it up even faster. And I'm Nichole West, getting high at 9 with y'all.
I think a positive spin on this is like weed shouldn't cost anything at all. Let people grow the shit.
Weed should definitely cost something,
and let them enjoy it as cannabinoid medicine as God intended. You know,
we should always cost something.
We look at everything
who has to pay for it
through the capitalist eyes of Americans. Like let the people like grow their medicine. And
why are you always trying to short the farmers, Rico? Why are you trying to short the farmers?
You know, when the country shorts everybody, you know, and they fuck everything up, just making everything legal and just like a blanket legislation over everything, like let it happen. Let these people enjoy their medicine. Let them develop the processes needed to survive and to thrive off of cannabinoid medicine, and quit hating. Big ups to Oklahoma 2.0.
I mean,
I'm here for it.
You know what? I definitely believe that Thailand is Oklahoma 2.0. I actually have a friend there currently, and they texted me over the weekend, and they're like, bro, I'm moving to Thailand at the beginning of the year.
They're trying to Bangkok.
I mean, they're trying to bang something, bro.
Fuck it.
Well, I remember
saying.
reading about Thailand just got into some big agreement with the EU. They are going to be using their regenerative, they're going to adopt the regenerative practices for the EU, and maybe some of those farmers could raise some of their cannabis under those type of guidelines and get a better price, because they're about to start exporting other crops to the European Union if they've been grown regeneratively. So maybe they can put cannabis in that bucket.
Yeah.
And get a better dollar.
That's a pipe
I'm
dream.
really excited in general. Thailand is one of its biggest focuses from the government. Well, there's a couple of things happening too right now in Thailand. Their prime minister is at a stand. They have a suspension on him, and they have like a temporary prime minister in place because he's had his 2 terms, and there was like a country overturn in the middle of the chaos. And so they're like, hey, you're at your 2 terms. We need a new person. And they're like, well, maybe it started in the middle of our war. Maybe it didn't. And so they suspended him until the parliament can like come up with like a better answer and be like, can he get another term or not? And like, did his term start in 2014 or did it start in 2017? Because they were having their political craziness that was going on. He technically started in 14, but wasn't like in charge until 2017. So in his government's mind, they get more years. And so there's this weird shit going on the back end, but they're still building in a big way their tourism. That's like the thing in Thailand. Like they're constantly layering on more cool things to make their tourism more attractive, because that's a majority of their income in Thailand. And so the idea that, one, they don't have like a clear government right now. They're changing all of these new rules, and they don't have somebody that's like necessarily like in charge. They have like an interim in charge person. I think that it will be interesting to kind of watch this regulation. I hope they get a final answer on who the fuck's the prime minister, because at the end of the day, if you don't have somebody to get to the end of the road with the questions, they're just going to continue to blame like the lack of clarity on the government, not
so would you say they have a sub prime minister right now?
That's funny. Hold on. And the number one reason to uproot your cannabis business and bring it to Thailand, are you guys ready? Are you guys ready for the number one reason? Polled, 100 cannabis workers were polled on this question. Are you ready for the number one answer, Rico?
Hey, baby.
Oh, yeah. The number one reason that cannabis companies are moving to Thailand is because there is no metric. No metric in Thailand.
Bro, that's not
It's wide open, BioTrack. It's wide open for you to come
Yeah,
back.
that's right. BioTrack, you better fucking get in while you can.
I'm gonna go with property is very cheap and prostitution is legal. Let's go to our commercial.
Shout out to the prostitutes. Oh, yeah, that's right. Welcome to Los Ashes, the headiest city in America. Los Ashes is a 10-pound smokable city curated and created by the world-renowned Roller Weavers. In the past, Weavers has amazed cannabis lovers with his roll jobs, such as a smokable 5-pound rocket launcher and the 10-pound Darth Vader blunt. But now, Weavers is rolling an entire city. Have your business featured in Los Ashes with a ton of different sponsorship opportunities available. Contact Weavers at smokablecity.com for full sponsorship information.
The thoughts and opinions and general shade thrown on the High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers, not those of any other speaker or its followers. The statements made do not constitute legal or accounting advice, and our speakers make no representation regarding the legal status of any substance in any country, area, territory, or its authorities. Views expressed in this room do not establish fiduciary relationships. Our sponsors do not imply or constitute any endorsement by us or the expression of any opinion whatsoever on the part of any speaker or anyone on stage. If you're an easily offended person, this show is probably not for you. Also, fuck off.
Flying into LAX and you want to taste some of the best weed in the world? Then stop by LAXCC, the closest dispensary to LAX, located at 8332 Lincoln Boulevard and open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. 7 days a week. Always make LAXCC your first stop when you touch down in LA and score like a winner. And don't forget to tell them I sent you and mention you'd like to get High at 9 for 10% off your full order.
Our next correspondent splits half her time down cooking and baking delicious treats in that basement. But don't let the apron fool you, because on the other half, she's serving as a feisty redheaded conservative with Mayflower roots, supposed Mayflower roots, let me put that right there, and an unhealthy love for safe banking, along with her cohort, Jason Beck. Coming to the stage next, the founder of Panoptic Strategies and our very own Washington insider, Gretchen Gailey. What you got for us on this Medical Monday morning?
All right. First off, Rico, I think you would like to see this from the Society of Mayflower Descendants. This is my paperwork.
Damn, bro, she pulled out her papers, bro.
Clip
Yeah.
Generations to
Validation.
Straight
Take
from
that,
Ellis Island.
23andMe. Take that, 23andMe.
I called my mother for that, I'll have you know, and she was happy to provide me with my paperwork. I am verified. On
Certified.
to my story. My headline is coming from Marijuana Moment. And it is Booker and Fetterman push justice-focused marijuana reform at state and federal level in conference remarks. Senator Cory Booker and Pennsylvania Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman spoke at a marijuana conference on Friday, respectively pushing for federal legalization and encouraging people to apply for state-level pardons for prior cannabis convictions under a recently launched initiative that's already seen thousands of people apply for relief this month. The officials discussed cannabis policy objectives in pre-recorded interviews that were screened at the 5th Annual Cannabis Opportunities Conference. Pro-legalization Pennsylvania State Senator Sheriff Street led the event's policy summit. Booker said, "Over the past years, we have made incredible strides towards cannabis legalization. With a majority of Americans on both sides of the aisle in support of legalization, we know that this has opportunities. We need, though, to continue to evolve our focus, our vision, and our strategies to make sure that economically, socially, and especially within our criminal justice system, we are expanding fairness, equality, and opportunity." He said that local and state reform is critical, but the federal government needs to catch up, which is why he's sponsoring a Senate legalization bill alongside Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senate Finance Committee Chairman Ron Wyden. This legalization movement has really got to continue to focus on removing barriers to justice for marginalized communities. This movement has to be about expanding economic opportunities and democratizing those opportunities as well. This movement has to be about not allowing us in any way to move backwards, but continuing to take strides forward towards justice. The senator has been pushing for a path to end federal prohibition while still keeping the focus on equity. But he and his colleagues have also signaled that they recognize that broad legalization isn't going to happen this session, given the steep 60-vote threshold to pass in the Senate. To that end, Booker has recently said that he's open to compromise to get some kind of cannabis reform enacted, likely in the form of a marijuana omnibus that is expected to include provisions on marijuana banking protections, expungements, veterans' medical cannabis access, research, and more. He said, "We know there is a historic opportunity right now for our country to rectify past wrongs and create a more just, fair America with more opportunity. There's still mountains to climb, but I know we will make progress. I know we will make it to the mountaintop. I know we will get to a point in this country because our labors, where justice rolls down the water and righteousness like a mighty stream." Fetterman, for his part, talked about a new month-long pardon project for people with prior cannabis convictions in Pennsylvania that he and Governor Tom Wolf recently launched. The lieutenant governor who chairs the state board of pardons and is running for a U.S. Senate seat said that Pennsylvania is a place for second chances, and the initiative will help people get pardons quickly for stupid weed convictions, while the legislature stalls on legalization. At the congressional level, a key House committee approved a series of criminal justice reform bills this week, including bipartisan proposals to clear records for prior federal marijuana convictions, provide funding for states that implement systems of automatic expungements, and codify retroactive relief for people incarcerated due to on-crack cocaine sentencing disparities. There are also growing hopes that the stage is set to advance marijuana reform package that would include bipartisan cannabis-focused expungements proposals such as the Harnessing Opportunities by Pursuing Expungement Act or the Marijuana Misdemeanor Expungement Act. A recent poll found that Republican voters are on board with a number of marijuana reform proposals, from medical cannabis legalization to expungements for prior marijuana convictions to letting states set their own policies without federal interference. Sources familiar with the stated negotiations over SAFE Plus have signaled that the bill drafting is fairly far along. Booker recently said that he expects the legislation to be introduced sometime after the November midterms, and Representative Dave Joyce said he felt the timeline for a filing would likely fall between November and December, though nothing is set in stone. While I am very happy that these guys are still talking about this sort of thing, I really wish that Senator Booker would make it clear to people that expungements have to happen on the state level. I don't want him to keep pushing this bullshit pipe dream of expungements on the federal level, because that's not how it works. That's not where most people have been incarcerated for problems with this plan. And they really need to be pushing for things like the HOPE Act that is being introduced in the SAFE Plus bill that are actually going to require states to do the work on expungements. Fetterman, take him or leave him, whatever. He's not going to get elected. But
that's right. Yeah.
This is Gretchen for High at 9 News.
That's right. Man. That's right. Gretchen has came to the reality of the fact that Dr. Oz is going to be the next senator in Pennsylvania.
Oh my gosh. That was
Oz is gaining voters.
Shout out to the reality checks going on today. Because Rico, you got served with some papers.
I got served with papers, and I ain't even on Maury.
Oh, this is great.
But the headline, Gretchen, the headline, you said that's a misnomer, saying that that they're pushing it for it on the state level as well. Because I know you always talk about doing things on the federal level can only go so far because there's not really that many candidates for expungement on the federal level. So how can this be expanded on a state level? Like I think we had a comment in the on YouTube. Corey
is it
Booker,
the highly versed? Shout out to highly versed. This is probably the funniest comment of the day so far.
Booker is like an animated Key and Peele skit. Like I try not to criticize too much, but that's spot on, and that's like one of the turnoffs for me as a voter, like certain personality types. And I feel like you need more people saying stuff like this rather than just a John Fetterman or just a.
You think Dr. Oz is a tool, is something great and educated? That
I think Dr. Oz, like Brittany Griner and like everybody else, he's a product of America's infatuation with people who are famous.
Oh, please. To me, it's not about Dr. Oz being famous. I think truly that him being famous is what's working against him in this election. If he had not been a TV personality, he would not be taking the heat that he is. I mean, the man's a fucking cardiac surgeon. He's not a moron. Meanwhile, we got this other guy who just had a stroke who can't fucking speak anymore. But we're like, yeah, let's put him in there. I mean, is he going to live to see to be sworn in? We don't know that.
We don't know. That's right. And Dr. Oz presented his medical records over the weekend.
Jennifer Kovacs just said that made by Oprah. I would love to reiterate that he was made who he is by Oprah.
No, he was made famous by Oprah. That did not take anything away from the man's education or what he has achieved over the years. I mean, it's just bullshit that everyone is all over Dr. Oz just because he's famous. I mean, it's
why?
If I was in Pennsylvania, I would vote for Dr. Oz.
And I do dumb shit with my fucking chads.
America is sick.
I do dumb shit with my chads.
America is sick.
Entertained.
America is sick, and it needs a doctor like Dr. Oz to help repair it.
I would like people to take 5 minutes and take a look at good old Fetterman's background. He is not the Carhartt wearing poser that he is. He comes from a very affluent family in Pennsylvania, just like a lot of other fucking politicians. Just because he wears basketball shorts now does not make him a fucking genius. Doesn't mean because you want to have a beer with him that he's going to make a great lawmaker.
So you're saying he should shut up and dribble?
I'm embarrassed that man is who is being put forth as a candidate for the state of Pennsylvania.
That's right, Democrats. You need to step up your game with your nominees because Fetterman is not the man.
Did he shut up and dribble? How is he on the basketball court, Gretchen?
He dribbles when he's in the hospital.
I don't recall him ever. He was a football player, to my knowledge. I don't recall him playing basketball. But I don't think that Fetterman is the answer to anything, frankly. And even if he were to get elected, it ain't going to get you 60 votes in the Senate. So why would you use him for the one stupid issue that
he's not going to get elected.
So would Dr. Oz command more votes in the Senate? Do you think? Real question.
Well, at least he's a doctor.
One man is one vote. It does not matter. But I'm saying that even if the House, or I'm sorry, if the Senate is to go Republican, in the new administration, they're not going to get 10 Republicans. It's not going to get rid of this 60-vote filibuster.
All right, let's finish
It's
this
not an issue
headline
that
up.
people should be looking at.
Thank you so much for that story, Gretchen, and everyone for your amazing banter on that. Sounds like we're speaking of shapeshifters, and if we're going to speak of shapeshifters, I think that's a perfect segue for our next shapeshifter, who shapeshifted his way from being a cop to being cool. Who thought that was fucking possible? Well, Chris Eggers every day is proving me wrong in that cops actually are people too. He is the founder of CC Security Solutions and an actual friend of mine. And I say that very genuinely. I'm friends with an ex-cop. Chris, what do you have for us today?
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for that intro. My headline today comes out of, so I found this pretty interesting because of where this article comes from. It comes from the Daily Titan, that's the student voice of Cal State Fullerton. The headline reads, "Unlicensed cannabis dispensaries seek legal loophole." Fullerton has been playing hide and seek with illegal cannabis dispensaries since it made the industry illegal citywide in February 2021. And on May 10th, one of these dispensaries, Fullerton Exotics, filed an appeal to remain open despite the city determining that it was not a valid dispensary. According to documents reviewed by the Daily Titan, Fullerton issued multiple citations to Fullerton's Exotics property owners, the property managers, and the business itself, Fullerton Exotics. Despite multiple citations, the business, tenant, property owners, and the property managers of the legal business, according to the city, carried on. Fullerton hearing officer John Van Dorn determined in a written decision that Fullerton Exotics was a public nuisance. When Fullerton Exotics filed an appeal in May, represented by Damian Nasseri, they claimed that they operated as a primary caregiver, giving medical operations, providing medical operations which provides cannabis to no more than 5 patients according to state law. This distinction would make Fullerton Exotics exempt from the public nuisance code. But the city countered this argument, saying that human sign twirlers advertising the business and reports from inspectors showing customers enter the store empty-handed and leaving with small paper bags proved that to be false. A Fullerton code officer, Cecilia Vasquez, said that she received a call from a father claiming that his son had purchased mushrooms from Fullerton Exotics. If Fullerton wishes to continue enforcing the public nuisance code, one potential solution to combat this is to become a charter city. Charter cities invoke authority to the local officials and allow them to enforce certain reforms, but the Mayor Fred Jung of Fullerton said that the city has no plan to create a charter. Jung said, quote, "If they are going to decriminalize cannabis, which is well within the margins of what the voters want in the state, they do have to have consequences for illegal growers, legal dispensaries, to make sure that the ones that are doing business legally can survive. By operating illegally, it cannot be verified if Fullerton cannabis dispensaries properly test their products before selling them." An anonymous source with knowledge of how unlicensed dispensaries operate told Daily Titan that even legal dispensaries will sell products on the illicit market to cover costs. If the source once opened, according to this article, the source once opened multiple unlicensed dispensaries from 2014 to 2018 in Orange and LA County. One location ended up being raided by law enforcement. And today, according to the article, the source owns a licensed dispensary in Santa Ana and is not speaking publicly because they don't want to put their license at risk. What I found a bunch of stuff interesting about this article, but really kind of thought it was cool that the student newspaper, the student news is reporting on what's going on locally within the cannabis industry in their area. I wanted to share it. Happy Monday, everybody. Thanks for letting me report. My name is Chris Eggers.
I'm kind of blown away that Fullerton had any trap shops. Orange County is literally the most conservative county in our whole state. And Santa Ana is the only city in the whole county that has regulated cannabis. And I'm blown. My mind is blown that there was a trap shop in Fullerton. Like, I see it in LA and mind not blown. In Fullerton, yeah, bro.
There's like so many. There's yeah, Siri is talking shit to me now.
In Fullerton?
Yeah, there's a ton in Orange County. Like shout out to GTR, 13 fucking locations out there. There's a ton of
I
trash
don't
out.
even see them in Orange County. Like I don't see
I would
them at
not.
all.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some Disney dollars behind some of these locations.
No, Disney is the reason why they're getting pushed out. I used to work.
Well, this is
way too
what I'm
close to the
saying. I
city
wouldn't be surprised if there's Disney behind it. Well, they're publicly saying they're trying to push them out. I wouldn't be surprised if they're collecting a check.
So are you
because
telling me that
they're not
in
getting
these
shut
trap
down.
shops there's
I don't
candy
know.
bars that are in the form of Mickey Mouse ears?
Candy bars. No one's saying that,
Candy
Jason.
bars.
No
Are
one's
they
saying that at
Disneyland
all.
prices?
I didn't realize it, and I'm gonna
Inflation
say
on
like
that.
I'm not like driving around looking for trap shops anymore, but like
Right.
I just would have expected that there wasn't any in Fullerton specifically. Fullerton's a college town.
Yeah.
It's a pretty nice town.
Mhm.
There's a little cutty area sort of in Fullerton, but not even really.
They're different than what we see in LA. They're not like these broke down, like sometimes it sounds like broke
You
down.
mean they're
houses and
nice? They're not
stuff.
third world trap shops?
You can't really tell as much as easy as you can tell in Los Angeles, but there's a ton in Orange County.
Do we
Orange
know if
County
they
getting
ever
it in.
apply for a license, a legal license?
No, they cannot get
Yeah.
one, Dr. Felicia, because their
Yeah.
local ordinance does not allow it.
Yeah, there's
that's
no
not-
licenses in Fullerton. It said something about Santa Ana. Did they say they were affiliated with a license in Santa Ana?
And Dana Point
No,
too,
one of their
right?
sources was speaking.
Okay. Yeah.
Santa
school is
Santa
in
Ana was the only
Fullerton?
place.
Cal State Fullerton.
Yeah. Santa
mean-
Ana was the only place for a while, and they were like, it was really, really fucked up the way it happened because Santa Ana has like a very, very broad, very, very large Hispanic community, and they generated so much tax revenue from that shit. So you have a bunch of other like Orange County cities trying to follow suit. 'cause they
Costa
wanna
Mesa is
get
coming
green
online right
gold.
now, like as we
That was
speak.
it, Costa Mesa.
There are others,
Chris.
but at this moment right now, it's just Santa Ana, and like Santa Ana is right next to Fullerton, and I don't know. And apparently there are a lot of them.
Chris, being former law enforcement, anytime you read an article and it mentions for law enforcement an anonymous source, what's the first word that comes to your mind?
Snitch. Oh, sorry.
That was Chris Eggers.
My bad. That wasn't a question for me.
Yeah. It depends. Talking to the media is an interesting thing, right? Because I think there could be benefit from, law enforcement speaking out, especially against some stuff within their own department, to the media could be helpful. But I think as a blanket question, you got to be careful.
Get wrapped up in the blanket. Called it pigs in a blanket, huh?
Pigs in a blanket.
Oh boy.
Great.
Hot dog
boy.
meat. Hot dog meat.
Oh boy. There's your glizzies, Rico. There's your glizzies. Yes. But since we're talking about glizzies, let's step off that story. That was a fantastic story. Thank you so much, Chris Eggers.
Keep it
But
rocking.
one visit to this office is sure to get you access to all kinds of blue pills. That's right. All shapes, sizes, and colors are always included and welcome in this safe space. She is the Plants for Life CEO and a dual board certified physician, always promoting cannabis as medicine. And if you play your cards right, she'll mix some yellow ones with your blue ones to make a greener experience. That's right. It is none other than the one and only Dr. Felicia Dawson.
Thank you for that introduction, Jason. Happy Monday, everyone. My article comes from CNBC. Check in, smoke up, and tune out. Cannabis-friendly vacation rentals are catching on by Stephen Sykes. At Nicole Butler's Bed and Breakfast, cannabis is the candy that greets guests at check-in, the homemade shrimp and grits and other meals she serves, and the snacks she sets out for anyone who gets the munchies. I really just try to give people what they're used to, just with the added element of cannabis, said Butler. With permission from her landlord, Butler in 2018 began listing her 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom townhouse in Washington, D.C. on bedandbreakfast.com, which connects guests with hosts who allow marijuana use on their properties. The site is still tiny, with 2,000 active listings compared with Airbnb's 6 million, but the niche market for cannabis-friendly accommodations is gaining interest. With recreational marijuana use now legal in 19 states and Washington, some hosts of cannabis-friendly rentals go beyond simply allowing people to smoke or consume weed on site. With rooms starting at $420 per night, for example, Butler offers a fully stocked cannabis bar with a variety of strains to choose from, as well as yoga, CBD massage, and cannabis education. A hairstylist before the pandemic, Butler began managing the bed and breakfast full time when the salon she worked at closed during the pandemic. She said the business started to sustain itself after about a year. I think the pandemic made people really appreciate experiences, self care, and just doing things that make them feel good, said Butler. Among those looking to capitalize on the growing industry is Sean Roby, who launched budandbreakfast.com in 2015. Initially, he and his business partners were doubtful about whether people would buy into the idea of letting guests smoke cannabis on their properties. We get dozens of bookings per day now, he said. On the site, listings indicate where in the house smoking is allowed, if cannabis will be provided, or if it's BYOB, bring your own bud. They also include information on local dispensaries and cannabis events happening in the area. We have places that are booked out 6 months in advance, Roby said. The article includes a short video highlighting attorney Joel Schneider, who set out to create the Disney World of cannabis when he purchased Adagio in Denver, Colorado, a bud and breakfast. After 2 years, he now makes $110,000 per month. He states he gets a lot of football players and musicians, and that Julian Marley actually stayed there recently. The article goes on to highlight Deontay Mack, who recently launched vibesbnb.com, where he lists cannabis-friendly rentals. The site has more than 150 listings, mostly in Florida, and Mack states 2,000 have signed up in the first year. After voters approved a bill in 2016 allowing medicinal use of cannabis on private properties, Mack, a Uber and Lyft driver at the time, saw an opportunity to cash in. He cross-lists on Vibes B&B and Airbnb. He said people can book his listings on Airbnb or go directly to his site for cheaper booking. He gets around Airbnb site rules by putting 420 friendly in the description, which lets people find him through Google searches. He's aiming to be the Airbnb of cannabis in Florida. Finally, the article highlights Jeremiah Swain and Cameron Wesley Scott, who founded a research-based cannabis company in Ithaca, New York. Their hope is to create one of upstate New York's first boutique cannabis hotels with about 65 rooms. They're hoping to launch in 2025 and are in the process of fundraising. Swain states that the hotel, which he called the Nexus of Cannabis and Hospitality, will be what allows minority entrepreneurs like him a chance to break into the industry. I love that this article shows others who do not have loads of cash how they can get a piece of this industry. I would echo something stated in the article that you should get your landlord's permission first before listing your property. I would also recommend giving your business model a few months to work before making large investments, because you never know how other tenants in your building will feel about cannabis smoke. I remember I used to burn sage to clear my office once a week. I had to stop when the landlord got complaints that we were smoking cannabis in my office. I'd also like to caution people that even if you limit smoking in one room in your space, that smoke will definitely travel to the entire unit. And this may limit your clients looking for cannabis-friendly accommodations only. This is Dr. Felicia Dawson reporting for High at 9 News. Anyone else inspired to open up some cannabis-friendly lodging?
Yes.
I mean,
I think it's a hotbed for growth.
Really? A hotbed? That was a good pun right there, Rico.
You like that? You see what I did there?
Yeah, I did. I see what you did right there. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and not with a heater blanket.
The reality that you are limiting is a very genuine reality for people. And when we're talking about like having the whole like kit and caboodle as an accommodation, you know, where like people have, you know, whether it be like a ride to the dispensary or like special like, you know, dispensary items that are available, like you have a delivery service. People are doing a lot of things to incorporate their Airbnb, but you really are kind of like limiting it down to that if that's how you're going to advertise it. Because I think a lot of people that are not interested in that don't want to go to that, but it's such an expansive market. But do you think it's big enough to have like, you know, where people want to open up a specific like a retreat for cannabis? Like, do you think that the market's big enough? Because people have been trying it and it keeps failing because I don't know if the market's there yet, but at what point, like, are we there now? I think we might be close. Like, I'm not in hospitality. So
when you show up,
I think there's plenty of room for these types of opportunities. I mean, especially when you look at like the tourism numbers in a place like Colorado that's a bit more established, and people said, 20% looked at going to Colorado more favorably because they had cannabis legalized years ago. And you're not allowed to smoke it in hotels and things. So I think if it's really something that you are going out to do, I'm going because I want to smoke, I want to infuse dinner, I want that experience. I think absolutely these kinds of places are a good place and a good market. And I think that there's absolutely room for growth.
Shout out to the 420 Hotel in Colorado that now lets you smoke in your hotel, though. Chris opened up a spot. It's pretty sick.
There's a bunch.
There are some spots.
There's a bunch that have popped up over the pandemic. I do think that the time is now. The time is right.
The time is now.
The time is now. The time is right. And I think we're just a little premature pre-pandemic, and now people are looking for these.
You mean like so you mean is that why staying at these places doesn't taste so good, because it's all a bunch of premature bullshit?
Oh.
I like that hotel that they're about to build. I like that.
I mean,
idea.
Dr. Felicia, you live in Georgia, so in all fairness, like, you're not around cannabis all the time like that.
So that has nothing to do with nothing.
That's not.
Yeah,
Dr. Felicia, it is a great idea. And,
I think it's an excellent idea.
Well,
I did like the fact that you pointed to, an opportunity for minorities to expand in the industry too, because I didn't even think of it that way. That's an interesting take.
Well, what a great story. I love ending on Dr. Felicia's story because it's always something to either get you thinking or get you inspired. So what a great way to end our Monday morning show. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us every day, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the audience and supporters, to the haters for still talking. Huge thank you to True Classic, LAXCC, and Weavers for helping us keep the lights on, to the correspondents for being amazing, to everyone on the back end helping us keep this all together. Thank you to Weed for giving us a reason to do it, and also for tuning in every day and getting high at 9 with us.
Don't forget Stone Slade from the great red state of Texas.
Getting the high road of Stone Slade.
Yeah, that's right.
You are tuned in to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebs and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and enthogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck, Rico Lamitte, and Nichole West, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time. Thank you for getting high at 9 with us.